So the Samsung Galaxy S5 is finally here, just released today. And you know what that means? Those of you with Samsung Galaxy S4s are probably experiencing something called phone envy. And while all of those Samsung Galaxy S5 users are just sort of rubbing it in your face, all like, okay, maybe not, but a lot of you out there have been asking us if it's a good idea to upgrade from the S4 to the S5. So I wanted to quick fire off 5 reasons why you probably should. So it's Josh Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And here are 5 reasons why you should upgrade to the Samsung Galaxy S5. Alright, so we'll start off this list with what is on the surface, and that is of course the build quality. Now what we have here is a phone that is very similar to its predecessor, but that might be a good thing in more ways than one. After all, by keeping the phone pretty much the same size as the Galaxy S4, the Galaxy S5 has a handling experience that is very familiar and also is pretty easy to use in one hand. Ultimately, it's a form factor that Samsung thinks if it ain't broke, they don't necessarily have to fix it. But there's even more to it than that, because the back cover, regardless of whether or not you like the perforated design, has a better feel to it than the glossy plastic of the original. But even more on top of that, and this is the big one, is the IP67 certification. You will have water and dust resistance on this phone, meaning that this phone can take a tumble or even take a dip in the water and it will still come back looking for more. And it'll still work just the way that you need it to. So with a little bit of ruggedness available in a flagship device, you have a build quality that is definitely leaps and bounds better than the original. And our second reason has to do with the display. Now, we might not be seeing that big of a difference between the two, the S4 screen and the S5 screen, because it's only a 0.1 inch difference in the size. However, what we're looking at here is the continuance of the Super AMOLED tradition. After all, Super AMOLED continues to be one of the better display technologies out there that bring great color saturation, maybe a little bit more than you need, but you can always tweak it, and also a very vivid experience no matter what you're doing, whether it be movies or playing video games, with colors that pretty much pop out of the screen and punch you in the face. Ultimately, you're getting the same great quality here from Samsung in their displays, and on the Samsung Galaxy S5, it is about as fun as ever, especially with a few of the extra capabilities you have built in, like the Air View, or even being able to touch the screen with gloves on and still be able to register presses. So the display is our second reason for upgrading to the Samsung Galaxy S5. This third reason is probably personally my main reason to upgrade, and that is the ISOCELL camera, the brand new 16 megapixel optics found on the back. Now the ISOCELL camera does bring a few enhancements to the app itself, but as far as the app goes, you're not going to be getting as many modes inside of it as you did in the Galaxy S4. But for a lot of you out there who probably never even really used those different modes, this might be a good thing, because Samsung went ahead and added in a couple of actually pretty useful ones that you probably will end up having some fun with. Live HDR and selective focus. But it's all about the picture quality, and the ISOCELL camera seems to do the job. Ultimately, what you get in the Samsung Galaxy S5 are a lot of very vivid pictures with some pretty good color reproduction, and even if the detail may not always be in every photo, you still will get a photo at first glance that looks very nice and is perfect for at least social media and beyond. But with a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of extra effort, you can probably get some spectacular shots from here that can go beyond just your social media experience. So the ISOCELL camera rounds out the third reason why we should upgrade to the Galaxy S5. Much like the display, we're not really seeing that much of a upgrade when it comes to the performance, but it's still a reason why you probably would want to upgrade to the Galaxy S5. After all, a lot of you users out there want to remain not just on the cutting edge, but you want to be as far to the bleeding edge as possible. And that is what you get with this and every flagship, but the Samsung Galaxy S5 rocks the Snapdragon 801 clocked in at 2.5 gigahertz like a champ. Everything on this phone seems to go as fast as you need it to, and any lag or stutter that you might find is inside of the operating system, the TouchWiz. But the reason why I bring that up also is because TouchWiz is our final reason for upgrading to the Samsung Galaxy S5. While lag and stutter might have plagued TouchWiz in the past with previous iterations of the Galaxy S line, we don't really see it that much at all in this one. TouchWiz has been enhanced with a better look that may not necessarily drastically change the experience, but it is still appealing nonetheless. In places like the settings screen that has the circles now, still very colorful, and also the recent apps button that allows you to use multitasking in a pretty classical way. After that, some tools that are added in, like the toolbox, allow you a quick way of getting to 5 different applications, and of course all of the other enhancements that came in previous iterations, like multi-window and every gesture you may or may not use, returns in the Galaxy S5. You have a full-featured software suite in TouchWiz, but this time around it has been optimized, and at least from our experience, it is one of the fastest iterations of TouchWiz we've ever used, and that's a bit of a feat considering everything that it can possibly do. And finally, these last 2 things I'm going to name off are pretty much honorable mentions because, at least for me personally, they don't hit that top 5 in terms of why I would upgrade from the S4 to the S5. And it's going to be a little controversial because they are big additions, and that's of course the heart rate monitor and the finger scanner. Now, I've already gone extensively about these in feature-focused videos and in the full review, but it pretty much comes down to this. The heart rate monitor, for those of you who really are into fitness, will not be the best companion. It's pretty much just something you would use once in a while, if at all. And on top of that, you probably have a much better performing heart rate monitor that monitors you continuously anyway, instead of the one single reading at a time that this one does. And as far as the finger scanner goes, it is a nice way of getting a little bit more security out of your phone, but to me, it's kind of just not something that I would use very often until software updates come in that allow you to use the finger scanner to, let's say, input passwords or to get through certain credentials in various apps. But until then, the finger scanner is just a bit of a extra way of unlocking your phone, but I just use swipe anyway. And so there you have it for these 5 reasons to upgrade from the S4 to the S5. There are a lot of enhancements in the Galaxy S5 from its predecessor, and I gave you my top 5 while mentioning the 2 big ones and telling you why maybe they were 6 and 7. Ultimately, this is an upgrade from the S4, and if the enhancements are enough to make you spend that extra money, then more power to you. But for the rest of you, if you don't feel like the Galaxy S5 is a real upgrade and you're not going to be spending the money on it, let us know why in the comments below. And on the other side of the coin, you can also tell us what your reasons would be for upgrading from the S4 to the S5 as well. Stay tuned to Android Authority for all of the best coverage of the Samsung Galaxy S5 and every flagship phone that has been coming out in the previous weeks and will continue to come out in the coming weeks. We have a lot of content here, from our weekly shows to our reviews to our comparisons to our camera shootouts. We got a lot here for you. So make sure you drop us some likes because we love to see those thumbs up, and to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And when you're done with all of that, head over to AndroidAuthority.com because we are your source for all things Android.